So we'll start with objectives of access cavity. First one is to remove all the caries and to conserve the sound tooth structure. Second objective is to completely de-roof or unroof the pulp chamber. Next is to remove all coronal pulp tissue, either it is vital or necrotic. To locate all root canal orifices. To achieve straight or direct line access to the apical foramen or to the initial curvature of the canal. The last one is to establish restorative margins to minimize marginal leakage of the restored tooth. So a properly prepared access cavity creates a smooth straight line path to the canal system and ultimately to the apex. So a straight line access provides the best chance of debridement of the entire canal space and reduces the risk of the instrument fracture. That is, the instruments mainly used here are files. And there are some guidelines. There are some guidelines for access cavity preparation. First one is visualization of the likely internal anatomy, and this requires an IOPA and examination of the tooth anatomy at coronal and cervical thirds levels and diagnosis. Here in the diagnosis, that is through IOPAs, radiographs, we can see the number of root canals and their position and the position of the pulp chamber. Second one, evaluation of the CEJ, the cemento enamel junction and occlusal anomalies if they are present, or anatomy of the occlusal aspect. And access cavities have been prepared in relation to the occlusal anatomy. The main three factors which must be considered for the internal anatomy is the first one is the size of the pulp chamber and the shape of the pulp chamber and the number of individual root canals and their curvature and position, because these three factors only determine the access cavity shape and size. The Krasner and Ranko suggested that CEJ is a popular landmark to locate the pulp chamber and root canal orifices. So before going that, we have some rules for proper access preparation according to Franklin S.P. So the objective of entry is to have a direct access to the apical foramina. Now, and access cavity preparations, or they are not in the same way as you prepare the operative occlusal preparations, and it must reflect the interior anatomy of tooth. And we must apply a rubber dam for isolation purpose, and endodontic entries are prepared through either lingual surface for anteriors and occlusal aspect of the posteriors. And unsupported cusp must be covered with the cast restoration or coverage. Hence, these are the laws of, there are some laws of anatomical laws for access cavity preparation according to Krasner and Ranko. And first one is law of centrality. The floor of the pulp chamber is always located in the center of the tooth at the level of CEJ. So all anatomical laws are related to cemento enamel junction, hence it is a popular landmark for us to locate the root canal orifices. So the pulp chamber, the floor of the pulp chamber always is at the center of the tooth, that's it. But it must be at the level of CEJ, you should see. Second one, law of concentricity. Here the walls of the pulp chamber are always concentric to the external surface of the tooth at the level of CEJ. That's why external root surface anatomy reflects internal pulp chamber anatomy. Through this law, we have concluded that the internal pulp chamber shape is reflected by external root surface anatomy. The third one is law of CEJ. The distance from external surface of the clinical crown to the wall of pulp chamber is the same throughout the circumference of the tooth at the level of CEJ again. So, consistent repeatable landmark for locating the position of the pulp chamber is nothing but CEJ. cemento-enamel junction. Coming to law of symmetry 1, that is the first one. Except for maxillary molars, the orifices of the canals are equidistant from a line if you draw in a mesodistal direction through the pulp chamber, the floor. And coming to second law, that is law of symmetry 2, except for maxillary molars, the orifices of the canals lie in on a line perpendicular to the line drawn mesodistal direction across the center of the floor of the pulp chamber. Coming to law of color change, you see the floor of the pulp chamber is definitely darker when compared to the walls of the pulp chamber, right? So here we can see the floor is very dark in color. And law of orifice location 1. Always remember that the orifices will be located at the junction of the wall and floor. This is the junction, right? This is the wall and this is the floor. So here junction. And at an angle, it will be an angle, not straight one. It's at an angle you can feel the straight line axis or entry into the orifice. And it located at the terminus of the root development fusion lines. So these three laws will give you an idea of an orifice location. So we have discussed this canal configurations. So we move on to armamentarium. What all we require for this access cavity preparation? Before going into instruments, we need definitely illumination and adequate magnification. Then handpieces, burrs, endodontic explorer, that is DJ16, endodontic spoon excavator, and ultrasonic tips. So mainly in the burrs, definitely we should have a round end cutting diamond tapered burr and number 57 fissure carbide burr, safety tip tapered or diamond burr, transmetal burr, Moeller and Allen burrs, gate splitting drills and G16 Explorer. So we already discussed this guidelines. So first step, take a diagnostic radiograph, visualize the location of the pulpal space or chamber, and you can see the anatomy, occlusal anatomy also, the number of root canals and their position, etc. So we move on to the access opening in for the individual teeth. First one is our maxillary central incisor. So maxillary central incisor, the root canal system outline reflects the external surface outline. It have presence of lingual shoulder prevents a direct straight line access. Hence, it must be removed. The pulp chamber is wider mesodistally, and in the cross section, you can see a triangular shape. An external axis outline form is a rounded triangle with its base towards the incisal aspect, apex towards cingulum. And mesial distal walls should converge towards cingulum. And variations in older teeth outline form, it becomes more oval shape as pulpal horns recede, and in 98% there is chance of one canal in central incisor. So here access opening is always through the lingual portion just above your cingulum with a round burr. Just place it. You will feel the burr drop as you enter. First you should place the burr perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. After entering into the dentin, you must place the burr direction along the parallel long axis of the tooth, that is parallel to the long axis of the tooth. If you continue, you get a burr drop into the pulp chamber. Then use a long tapered fissure burr to deroot the pulp chamber properly. Hence, you enter into the root canal system. Coming to maxillary lateral incisor, the pulp chamber outline is similar to that of central incisor, but smaller in dimensions. And the cross section at CEJ, the shape is triangle or round or oval. So, as lingual shoulder is present, definitely it prevents that straight line axis, hence it must be removed. External axis outline form is a rounded triangle, often has anomalies, that is presence of lingual, radicular or developmental groove, and hence it lost its attachment, its periodontal attachment. It can lead to endodontic or periodontal etiology. So the lingual, radicular or developmental groove is as an anomaly often seen in maxillolateral incisor. And the second most commonly seen anomaly is dens invaginatus, which can be of three types: simple, moderate and complex. So type 1 can be seen in crown regions, type 2 can be seen in CEJ, and type 3 is beyond CEJ. So coming to canine, maxillary canine is wider labiolingually than mesodistally. It has no pulpal horns. If you can see, central incisor has 3 pulp horns, lateral incisor has 2 pulp horns, but whereas your maxillary canine doesn't have a pulp horn. You better, I think you know better this dental anatomy in your second year itself and first year itself. So pulp chamber outline at CG it's oval. Against the presence of lingual shoulder, you must remove the lingual shoulder. It's a oval shape, access cavity. So this is your endodontic cavity preparation and mandibular anterior teeth. So this is your point of entry. Place the burr horizontal to the perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. After entering into the dentin, change the direction of the burr parallel to the long axis of the tooth, and hence you will get a burr drop. Then remove the pulp chamber or remove the pulp chamber properly. Then you get a straight line axis, which you can confirm using an endodontic file. So this is in mandibular central and laterals. So mandibular central and laterals, they are, both are similar, root canal, having similar root canal system and access cavities. So for both of these teeth, lingual shoulder must be removed to allow direct line access. Outlines are wider labiolingually, but at CJ it's oval, oval outline form, and a single root is seen, but has a long narrow canal. So coming to mandibular canine, mandibular canine, it is similar to maxillary canine, but it has smaller dimensions. It has one canal and hence is a oval shaped. So the outline form, axis cavity, outline form is oval, and lingual shoulder must be removed. Only in 6% of the cases you can see two canals, presence of two canals. So we are going to see the premolar teeth. So here, this is access cavity opening or entry is through the occlusal part. So after you must always find the one canal out of the two. So same, but it's through the occlusal part of it. So burr should be along the long edge of the tooth. Hence, after getting the burr drop, remove the pulp chamber properly and use an endodontic explorer to negotiate the canal. And after deroofing completely, you get a straight line axis and confirm it with the placing the endodontic files or instruments. Coming to the maxillary first premolar, in majority of the premolars, there are two canals and furcation groove which is present on the palatal aspect of the buccal root. The pulp chamber is wider buccolingually than mesodistally, and the palatal orifice is slightly larger than your buccal orifice, and you can see 1, 2 or 3 roots and canals also sometimes. If there are 2 canals, they are called as buccal and palatal. If there are 3, they are called as mesobuccal, distobuccal and palatal. The access cavity preparation, you can see a oval or slot shaped preparation. In 90% of the cases or premolars, you can see 2 canals, presence of 2 canals. Coming to the second premolar, Root canal system is wider buccolingually than mesodistally. Sometimes it consists of single root in two-thirds of the canals. So buccal pulp horn is larger here. The proximity of this tooth to the sinus can lead to drainage of a periradicular abscess into the sinus. So you must be very careful with this maxillary second premolar. When two canals are present, access opening or preparation is same as first premolar. If it is there, two canals. And 75% of the premolars you can see single canal which is present at almost center of the tooth. So this is the endodontic preparation for a mandibular premolars. Through the occlusal aspect, get a bud drop, deroof it properly, negotiate the canal using instruments or DG16 or endodontic explorer, and get a straight line access. Mandibular first premolar, it is having extreme variations in root canal morphology. The pulp chamber is wider buccolingually than mesodistally. It has two pulpal horns. Variations, you can see two root canals that tend to merge in the apical third as one. So 2-1 configuration is maximum seen in this premolars. If saying 74% of the premolars, you can see one canal that is single broad bifurcates into two. Single broad canal, and this single broad canal can also bifurcate into two. That is 1-2 configuration also can be seen in this premolars. And 25% you can see two canals. So buccal canal, it is easy to get access because it's straight along with the tooth, but lingual canal is very difficult to get the access as the tooth is there will be an lingual inclination of the crown. And sometimes you can see three roots with three canals. So coming to mandibular second premolar is similar to the first premolar, but with variations of two canals, three canals and four canals, and it's very difficult to get an access for these canals as because the presence of lingually tipped crown in the second premolar. We move on to maxillary first molar, which is an important tooth in our maxillary jaw. As you all know, this is the first erupted tooth. So always there is a much importance for this first molars. If there is a loss of first molar, there is a huge loss to us. And hence you all know maxillary molar is the largest tooth in volume and most complex in root canal anatomy. Hence it's very important tooth and also complicated tooth for an endodontist. And you can see the occlusal aspect is the point of entry. So first palatal canal can be located, and then you can locate other two canals or other three canals. This is the axis, internal anatomy of the axis preparation and opening. We can see a rhomboidal or trapezoidal shape, and this is the mesobuccal, this is distobuccal, and this is palatal, and this is one more canal. This is second mesobuccal canal, or MB2. So MB1, MB2, DB, this is distobuccal and palatal. So this pulp chamber is widest in buccolingual dimensions. It consists of four pulpal horns, and they are named as mesobuccal, mesopalatal, distobuccal and distopalatal. And the pulp chamber outline form, as I said, it's a rhomboidal shape or trapezoidal shape. So mesobuccal MB2 canal is located palatal and mesial to the MB1, connecting three orifices, that is mesobuccal, distobuccal and palatal. It forms a triangle. You can see here a triangle. It's called molar triangle. Here also you can appreciate this triangle. So this is molar triangle. So MB2 is seen in 84% of maxillary first molar. So you must always see for it. Try to maximum negotiate the MB2. Coming to second molar, It resembles the first molar. The access cavity is just a rounded triangle. If there are three canals, if there are two, it's almost oval. And we can say sometimes one canal to one root also. So three roots, it's a close together and with the three orifices, since it's a flat triangle because of its fused roots. And if there are two canals, it's called buccal and palatal. And here this is mesobuccal, distobuccal and palatal canals. We move on to mandibular molars. Again, this is the first erupted in the oral cavity. That is mandibular first molar is the first tooth to erupt in the oral cavity, and also is a tooth which is highly risk for the caries hand because it is the first tooth to erupt. So generally, if you can see, it has a 5 cusps, first molar, and yeah. So first molar, 2 roots. Occasionally, you can see 3 with 2 or 3 mesial canals and 1 to 2 or sometimes 3 distal canals. If the mesial canals, if there are 2, they are called mesobuccal and mesolingual. Here you can see. So 2 canals, mesobuccal and mesolingual. And distal, if there are 2, distobuccal and distolingual. Sometimes these are distobuccal, distolingual, mesobuccal and mesolingual. Sometimes there will be a middle mesial canal. Mesobuccal orifice you can see exactly under the mesobuccal cusp, and mesolingual canal or orifice you can see just lingual to the central groove, and middle mesial canal you can see it is present in the groove between the mesobuccal and mesolingual canals. It will be in the between these two. And if there are 2 distal canals, you can see like this. If there is 1 distal canal, it should be like a large oval orifice present, just opening distal to the buccal groove. The access cavity is trapezoidal and or rhomboidal shape. Just have some variations called radix entomolaris, where a supernumerary root can be seen distolingually, and radix paramolaris, where a supernumerary root seen in mesodistally. These are 2 variations in first molar. Coming to second molar, it's just smaller than your first molar. It consists of 2 roots. Sometimes there will be only 1 root, but canals will be from 1, 2, 3 to 4. You can see C-shaped very often in these mandibular second molars, which I have discussed already. So access cavity is similar to first molar, but a bit more triangle and less rhomboidal, because you can see mostly 3 canals and sometimes only 2 canals, mesial and distal. That's it. If there are 3, mesolingual, mesobuccal and distal. So that's all about all individual teeth access cavity preparations. We move on to errors in cavity preparation or access cavity preparation. What errors can cause? That is iatrogenically, we dentists can cause errors. What are these errors? These are the iatrogenic errors caused during the access cavity preparation. First one is perforation. Before going to this, we just see this errors in cavity preparation. See here, you can see still you have to you have prepared only you exposed 1 orifice, but 2 are there still under this pulp chamber. So you haven't done a good or proper de-roofing. More distal, but the canals are more mesial here. So it's poor access cavity. And this is inadequate extension. Always look for an extra canal. So here you have missed 1 canal because of inadequate extension of the access cavity. This is over extension of your access cavity. You have removed all the conservative tooth structure which is not at all necessary here. So only the orifices you need to expose. That's it. You should not remove the sound tooth structure. That's why objective of the canal access cavity is to conserve the sound tooth structure. And here almost the debris has been gone from the canal orifice into your root canal, which can lead to a mishap or flare up. And here you haven't removed the pulp chamber still, because see here coronal pulp is still here. You haven't de-roofed here this portion, but you have got the entry. You thought you are in the root canals, but here the pulp tissue is still here, the same, which leads to failure of the endodontic treatment. And this is the occlusal aspect of the same pick. So you just have got 3 holes, that's it. You haven't de-roofed this pulp chamber. There is still more lot of pulp tissue here. And see here, inadequate opening. You have missed the tissue here. Later on it reflects as a pink tissue here, which can result in internal resorption also. And this is perforation. That is, you have created an external communication communication to the periapical tissues. So this is the direction to go, but you have missed and gone and created an artificial opening. You have created an extra communication between the tooth and the external tissues. And this is an overzealous preparation where you have removed all the sound tooth structure which is not at all needed and which can result the fracture at CEJ. This root only will be there which is not at all used for us to give an implant or any crown. Hence, the tooth has to be extracted. So, always remember overzealous preparation is not required. And this is perforation at the furcation site. Most commonly, this is an iatrogenic error which is seen most commonly in mandibular molars or maxillary molars. Most commonly in mandibular molars, because instead of you ending into the orifices, sometimes you will end into the furcation, thinking of it is an orifice. So always you must have a proper idea while doing an access preparation about the internal anatomy of each and every tooth. That's why we discuss in so detail of all the teeth from central incisor to second molars. So remaining your perforation, we discussed gouging or overextension is a just cause due to a failure to, that is you have removed more more amount of tooth structure rather than going or ending into the pulp chamber. So it's because of unsuccessful search for canals. And under extension, I think we have seen a pic about this, and it's a ledge which is caused due to the loss of control on an instrument, discoloration, incomplete removal of the pulp, debris or tissue, missed canals, definitely because of inadequate access openings, and fractured instruments seen most commonly in curved canals because of failure in getting a good outline form or internal preparation. So this is about your access cavity and errors caused during access cavity. So to conclude, always this is the first and important step in root canal treatment. Access cavity opening, if it is proper, definitely your instrumentation will be proper and leading to proper obturation technique. Because if you do an inadequate access opening, your instrumentation can't be normal or proper. You need it leads to inadequate preparation of the root canals, which lead to under obturation or over obturation. So this is the first entry point for us to reach our obturation, proper obturation. So hence, the straight line access is always needed for us, and conservation of the tooth structure definitely helps us post after the root canal treatment also. And knowing the internal anatomy of the tooth is the key for us to get a success in this root canal treatment. And this is how we completed our access cavity preparation. And thank you all.